Okay, we don't want to miss the Friday strengthening focus piece for the start of our day for a warm-up. Okay. And yeah, there's no doubt there is much difficulty in the world and in our country, and it can feel really depressing and deeply sad. So, but let's not forget, like this morning, for example, the air is different. And where I am, the sun is blazing. I mean, it is bright. It's bright in that way that you only get after it being very cold. And then the sun comes and it's just like, wow. So in that arrival of sun, in that moment, there can be this moment where we experience joy. So we don't want to miss those moments of pleasure, of joy, those moments that you just feel that little like, that noticing. Those are very special. And they also allow you to notice that you're being completely present to experience and to see and to be there. So that that moment of joy is so exciting. And if it's not sunny where you are, or if there's something else, we can also practice mudita, right? We can practice being happy for someone else, being happy, right? So, for example, my son, he's in San Diego. He drove to San Diego. And so he's there right now. And I remember talking to him, like he arrived, it's 2 days, gets down there and it's dark and he's staying, his best friend from here, they went down together and they stay at his friend's dad's house, who's there with his 2 little girls. But I knew, I said, oh, how are you feeling? Oh, Mom. So, you could just hear his like, oh, Mom, their house is orange. Okay, orange. He loves the color orange. And there's palm trees all around, Mom. And there's a bench press in their house, right in the basement. So I could feel joy for his joy. And so that's another way where we may not be experiencing something delightful, but what sort of delight do we get when someone else finds something delightful? All right, well, let's take our seat. What part of the body are we focusing on? We are going to work again. We're going back to working with the ramus. Do you remember the branches that come? Here's your pubic bone, or so you have the 2 pubic bones separated by a little piece of cartilage, and the pubic bones. Look at, they're very tall. We have different heights. So really, this is the top of the pubic bone, and then it's a ways down to the bottom of the pubic bone. So at some point, I might ask you to reach from the top of your pubic bone to the bottom of your pubic bone. We also know that from the top of the pubic bone, this bone comes across to the inner hip joint. It's very close to the inner hip. So this bone is this branch, which is the same as the word ramus. This is called the upper ramus, or we call it the upper branch. So there'll be times I'll just invite you to tone between the upper pubic bone and across to the upper inner hip joint. And then there's the top of the pubic bone, the bottom of the pubic bone, and then here's the lower branch. We've worked with this before. We worked with the lower branch, or it's called the inferior ramus. We'll call it the lower ramus, the lower branch, and it goes to the sitting bone. So we've been working with this some, and I'm going to encourage you to work with it again at times where you'll either go from the lower pubic bone to the sitting bone, or you might be going from the sitting bone all along, all along here to the lower pubic bone, from the lower pubic bone to the upper pubic bone. Okay? That's the territory. The branches. Okay, so let's take a comfortable seat. Go ahead and rest your hands in your lap. Sorry, I didn't make that a spotlight. Rest your hands in your lap, close your eyes, and let's drop down into feeling the ground. Lengthening your spine and finding your next inhale. Your exhale. Dropping into your ujjayi. And balancing the ujjayi, the inhale with the exhale. And this is Mary Oliver. If you suddenly and unexpectedly feel joy, don't hesitate. Give into it. There are plenty of lives and whole towns destroyed or about to be. We are not wise and not very often kind, and much can never be redeemed. But still, life has some possibility. Perhaps this is its way of fighting back, that sometimes something happened better than all the riches or power in the world. It could be anything, but very likely you notice it in the instant when love begins. Anyway, that's often the case. Anyway, whatever it is, don't be afraid of its plenty. Joy is not made to be a crumb. Don't hesitate. At the bottom of your next exhale, release any control on your breath. Bring your hands in Anjali Mudra. We'll chant the sound of Om. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Taking a deep inhale.
Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. With your exhale, bow your head towards your heart. Release your hands. All right. Okay, so I want you to we're going to begin lying on your back. So if you want, I know the volume might be adjusting, but you could take a blanket, open it up, put it on the ground. Let's lie down on it. Both feet on the ground. And just resting for a moment, noticing how your body finds the ground. Where does your body touch? So you feel the back of your head, your upper back. Where does the back of the head touch? That's a good thing. Is it do you feel like it's the middle back of the skull, or is it towards the top of your head? So if the chin is higher than your forehead, then you probably need a little pillow under your head or a blanket. Then you feel the upper back, and you feel the back of the pelvis, both heels, the ball of the foot, and all 10 toes. All right, so let's take your hands, let's bring them behind your head. Let's clasp the hands together and bring the elbows toward each other, and use your hands, lift your head up slightly. So now the gaze is probably, it could be up towards where the ceiling meets the wall. Let the head be heavy in your hands. With your next exhale, lift just the heels, walk your feet a little closer. And the exhale after that, slide the front rib cage down. So that means that you're probably, as you slide your lower front ribs down, you're lifting your upper back from the ground, still with the head being held by the hands. Then let's notice how much of the torso touches the ground now. Can you feel that it's not the upper back that's on the floor? It's the lower upper back, your lower back ribs. Lift your pubic bone towards your navel, and then take the feet from the ground. So now your inhale has to be in the chest. Slide the lower front ribs down towards the belly button a little more. And then the next exhale, lower the feet and bring the head back down. Release the hands and breathing. So now the breath can be in the belly, because you've released the abdominal tone that you had. Maybe you got hot, maybe you need to drop a leg. But I can't say enough about the lower front ribs you coming down in that work, because here we go again. Hands behind the head, elbows toward each other. That makes the upper back more broad. This time, let's do it where we take a deep inhale, and the exhale, we pick up the heels and feel the wrapping of the deepest abdominal. And then with your next exhale, let's lift the head. And can you find your lower back ribs on the ground? Lower back ribs.
Pick up the feet. So you might stay right here, and with your exhale, do just a little toe tap, right, left, right, left. Notice if your lower ribs started to lift up towards your chest, or you lost the lower back ribs to the ground as you're doing the toe taps. Some of you might take the shins parallel and do your toe taps from there. Alrighty, and then we'll lower the feet, the back, the upper back, the head, and rest again. Okay, so now we're gonna roll over to one side and use the arms to push yourself up. You can move your blanket out of the way. And then you're either gonna take your, if you have a foam roller, you'll take the foam roller and put it on your mat. If you don't have a foam roller, you'll take your yoga mat and roll it up. And you know, if you won't have a mat below that, I'm just using this since it's already rolled up. And if you don't have a foam roller, you're gonna want your rolled up yoga mat and a block. And that block could be, you know, at whatever height. So you're either on a foam roller or you're seated at the end of your rolled up yoga mat and you're coming back and then head goes on a block. Okay? So you either have the whole torso on the foam roller, including the head, because if your foam roller is the full length of your torso and head, or you're lying on your tightly rolled yoga mat with a block to go under the head. Does that make sense? And then let's take the arms. So the arms are gonna go out to the sides and we're just gonna, right now, just touch the finger pads to the floor. So I actually have my elbows lifted and just my finger pads on the ground. And then with the next exhale, let's press into the right foot and lift the left knee up. And let's lift the right arm up. Now, can you bring your lower front ribs down again so that the back of the rib cage will find the roller or your yoga mat? And then with your next exhale, you're gonna switch. Exhale, switch. Or inhale, switch, I don't care, but you're alternating opposite arm and leg. And can you keep lower rib cage down so you have a lot of connection of the back body towards your roller or your mat, alternating right and left. The exhale can be out the mouth. That might help. If you exhale long and slow out the mouth. You still going? All right. Then let's lift both knees up and take both arms wide. Again, there's tone in the belly, lower ribs are down. And then we're going to lower both feet. Relax the arms. Just take a moment, resting. All right. And then let's take your left finger pads to the ground and reach your right arm straight up. You're either going to just pick up the left knee again, or you'll straighten the left leg entirely. So there's a little turn in the torso on this one. So I could either have the right hand straight up. This is option A, where I inhale and exhale. I lift my torso and turn my torso a little towards the left. Breathe in, and I take about, say, 3 or 4 breaths before coming back down. Now, if having my hand and lifting my whole torso and twisting a little that way is too much for my neck, you could have your hand behind your head and do a little twist. All right. So let's come down where we've got both feet on the ground and we've got the arms out. All right. Let's press into your left foot and take either the right knee up or the right leg up. And I want you to notice when you press into the left heel, how significant that helps you in regards to the belly. And then you take left arm up, press into the left foot, inhale deeply. Exhale, you're lifting and twisting a little right. You can exhale out the mouth. And come down. Other side. Left leg up, right arm up, or right hand will go behind the head. Press into the right foot to help connect you to your yoga mat or your roller. Inhale through the nose. Exhale slowly out the mouth. Lift with a little twist. Down. Back to the other side. Pressing into the left. Inhale deeply. Exhale, a lift and a turn. So your lower left rib cage is turning towards your right hip bone. Lower left rib cage towards the right hip bone. You're exhaling out the mouth and then releasing back down. All right. And I don't know if you're balanced on both sides. If not, go do the second side right now. I'm not sure if you did the first side with me when I was demonstrating. So anyway, balancing the two sides. It's great if you can do 3 to 4 exhales while you're up there. So, and the lower ribs coming down is part of the diaphragm also coming back in the body. Okay, great, very good. And then you'll you're gonna roll off to your side. You're gonna make a transition. So you come off your foam roller, sit it off to the side, or you take your yoga mat, unroll it, and put it back down, on your mat. And wait 1 second. I just gotta find something. Here we go. Okay. And then we're gonna get your strap. So we're gonna take our strap and we're gonna take Supta Padangusthasana. So we can move the blocks off of your mat. If you have a bolster, we can use the bolster if we go under your left greater trochanter, or if you don't have a bolster, you'll use a blanket. Now, I can also, with the bolster, I can make it so that my elbow is going to be able to rest on it too when I do this pose, Supta Padangusthasana. If you don't have a bolster, to tuck underneath that outer hip, you'll use probably a couple of blankets that are folded in half lengthwise. They'll be at a bit of a diagonal. You're gonna have them not under the sacrum, but just, you kind of gotta roll a little away from the blankets, and then as if you can stack your left outer hip on top. So the right leg's gonna be straight out. You're gonna take the strap, put it around the foot right in front of the heel. and lengthen the left leg straight up. Okay, here we are. So we can have both arms up on the strap, both hands up on the strap. Right leg is straight. And then, can you bring your felt sense to the left upper pubic bone? With your next exhale, moving from the left upper pubic bone all the way across that upper ramus, the upper branch, to the inner left hip joint. All right. Then let's take the strap in your left hand. So if you have a loop, great. If not, you can just wrap the strap around the wrist and back through the space between your thumb and pointer. Right arm out to the side. I'm still going to reach through the right leg. And we're going to go off to the left here. Let's have some tone in the belly. So that with your next exhale, as you take your left leg towards the left, again, you're still releasing along from the pubic bone all the way towards that inner left hip joint. Remember the height of your pubic bone? What if you went from the lower pubic bone to the upper pubic bone on the left leg? And from your sit bone to your lower pubic bone. And then let's inhale. Let's bring the leg back up. We'll switch hands on the strap just briefly. So you'll take your right hand on your strap. Again, you can, sometimes I like to wrap the strap. If I have a loop, great. If not, I wrap it around my wrist and come back up between my thumb and pointer. So again, I'm releasing from the sit bone along that branch towards the lower pubic bone, from lower pubic bone to upper pubic bone. And then here, we're going to start to take your left leg just towards midline. The right leg is still engaged, the one that's on the ground. And sometimes I go back and I go, okay. Oh, did I release? Am I still releasing from sit bone on the left, along that whole lower branch to the lower pubic bone, to the upper pubic bone. All right, then we go back up and we're going to take the strap and the knee, remove your strap, and either spin your body around or move your prop around, whichever works for you. You'll have to just make sure the blankets that are going to go now under your right outer hip, the right outer hip, the blankets or the bolster, there's a little shelf for that outer hip to sit upon. Left leg's going to go straight. Right knee comes up, strap goes around the right heel. So here's maybe the vertical leg. Give yourself enough strap to open up the back of the knee. And then let's go from, if you place your awareness right at the top of the right pubic bone. And then all along that upper branch that goes to the inner hip, can you let go anywhere along that? And then let's go. You might, now we're going to go off to the right. So you're rooted through your left straight leg, low belly engaged. You're reaching really all the way along the left inner thigh towards the left heel. And then we're taking right leg out to the right. Okay, so now I could go and check in with myself. I'm looking for any holding I might unconsciously be doing. So like from if you locate, we could start at the sit bone even. If you locate the right sit bone, the inner right sitting bone, and along the lower ramus, that lower branch, can you release anywhere along that towards the lower right pubic bone? Lower right pubic bone to the top of the right pubic bone. Top of the right pubic bone goes all the way towards the inner right hip. Inhale, bring the leg back up. You can switch hands on the strap. Right arm out to the side. And now we're crossing the leg over the body. A little bit over midline. Doesn't have to be far to feel probably some of the beginnings of tissue changing. Can you go to the right sitting bone and release all the way towards your lower pubic bone? And then we'll come back to vertical. Let's bend the knee and take the strap off. Let's take both legs. We can move our bolster or blanket out of the way to just take both legs straight out on the ground. All right, then we bend the knees. We're going to take a reclined Vadakanasana. So knees toward the chest, straps going around both feet, reach both legs up, and then you're going to take the legs wide apart. You can wrap the hands around the strap again. And then, can you find both sitting bones? Can you release from the sit bones toward the lower pubic bones? From lower pubic bone to upper pubic bone. Alrighty, good job. And we'll inhale, we'll bring the feet together. Let's bend both knees. Roll over to one side. Use the arms to push yourself up. All right. come around to onto your knees. Move my blankets out of the way. And let's grab your blocks. Okay. So how about, let's take, for those of you doing downward facing dog, we'll take our hands on blocks. Hands on blocks, tuck the toes. If you're not taking downward dog, you might do puppy pose, where you're just reaching your arms forward. Otherwise, if we're taking downward dog with our hands on blocks. And then can you come into, in your downward dog, can you notice if you feel like from the pubic bones to the sit bone, that branch from the pubic bone to the sitting bone, does one of those feel shorter than the other one? Let's remember that living bone is very, it's malleable. So if one of those lower branches feels a little shorter, it's going to encourage you to see if you can add a little of your intent to hydrate it. Okay, and then we're going to step your left foot forward. So now we're in a lunge. Got our hands on our blocks. Some of you, this might be reminiscent of way back in March. Yeah, remember March when we first started doing all this? So what happens when on the front leg, from your lower left pubic bone, you're going to reach along that lower branch, the lower ramus, all the way to your left sitting bone. When you do that, did you feel your pelvis turn slightly to the right? And then you find yourself reaching all the way into the right heel. Let's come a little lighter on our blocks. Again, notice if when you came to fingertips, if you felt that you pulled your left sit bone back towards your left pubic bone. Let's keep the length from the left pubic bone to the left sitting bone, and reaching to the back leg. Let's come upright. Arms in any position. And then we'll inhale the arms out. Keep that reach going. Exhale, bow forward. Step back, downward facing dog. Or puppy pose, or Uttanasana, those of you that aren't doing downward dog right now. And then we're going to step a right foot forward. Here we are, low lunge, right foot forward, left foot back. Can you place your felt sense in the right lower pubic bone? And what happens when you reach from the right pubic bone all the way along that branch to the right sitting bone? Do you notice if the pelvis turns a little bit away from the front leg? And then through the pelvis, come all the way through, all the way into the back leg, all the way into the back heel. And keep, and notice you're going to come to fingertips. And so just notice when you come to fingertips of both hands, did you pull that sit bone back towards the left? So go back in and check. And then when you're ready, start to come upright. There you go. Great. That's it. Take your time because you're staying connected, right? Stay connected. Okay, and there you go. And what happens, Sandra? Do you have an injury there? Can you lift away from the front thigh? Is it okay? Keep going with that torso, Sandra. Keep reaching, keep lifting your heart. There you go. Keep reaching into your back leg. Really reach back. And then we exhale, bow forward. Great, Sandra. Great, everyone. Nice. We're going to step back again. Unless you're not doing downward dog, you could do Uttanasana. All right. So for some of you, you will remember we've been working a lot with the core of the body, the steadiness at the center of the body. So right now, can you use the full length of your inhale to go to plank pose? And when you move to plank pose, can you feel lower abdominals toning, middle, and upper? And when you exhale back, is it steady? Is the pressure on the hands steady? Not rushing. And can you do about 4 more of those? 4 more of those transitions slowly from downward dog to plank. That looks great, Al. Really nice alignment. Good, good, Celeste. And back, taking your time, noticing if there's, just how the body might waver. And especially as you take this nice and slow, the transition. Great, great. Wow, cool. This is really looking good. Yeah. Sometimes what I notice in my own body is just that sometimes I do notice how the weight is shifting from one hand to the other. So I'm really working on that steadiness so that it's the midline staying steady. Yeah, and you might, Dawn, probably lift the pelvis up a little higher. Lift your pelvis in your plank. Now right at the back of your diaphragm, Dawn. Back of the diaphragm. Yeah. Do you feel the belly right? There you go. And then we go back to downward dog. All righty. And then let's step the feet towards your hands. You're in Uttanasana. In Uttanasana, can you release from your upper pubic bone to your lower pubic bone? From your lower pubic bone towards your sitting bones. And then we're going to take the hands to the hips and inhale, come all the way to standing. Exhale, hands back in front of the heart. And then we'll release the arms. Okay, so now we're going to take triangle pose. Triangle pose. So let's go. Let's make your left foot your forward foot today. Left foot your forward foot. I'll mirror you. Okay, left foot's going to be the forward foot in this triangle. Let's inhale the arms out. And we exhale to triangle. You can always bring the back hand on the hip to begin. So with your left leg forward, can you find a connection that goes from the pubic bone to the inner hip joint on the left side? and all the way down firmly through the left inner thigh, landing all the way in the left foot. Let's see, and then still on the front leg, what happens if you release from the bottom of the pubic bone on the front leg to the top of the pubic bone? Did you feel yourself turn a little bit? You might end the arm. You're still firm through that inner thigh. And then we're going to inhale, come up. And we're going to take second side. Second side. Okay, when you're ready, inhale the arms out. And exhale, here we go, triangle. So from the right upper pubic bone, firming towards the inner hip on the right, on the front leg, all the way down, let's go all the way down the inner thigh to land in the front foot. Now let's release on the front leg from the top of the pubic bone to the bottom of the pubic bone. Top of the pubic bone to the bottom of the pubic bone. And then let's reach all the way into the back leg, down the back leg, back heel. And if you want, take the left arm up. Inhale, come up. Make the feet parallel, and you can step, hop, whatever. Bring the feet together. Inhale, lift both arms. Exhale your hands back in front of your heart. One more time. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Anjali Mudra. All right, release that. Okay, so I want to take, I'm going to move my blankets out of the way here. And my extra yoga mat out of the way. And my strap out of the way. I want to take, let's see, I'll move this out of the way too. Foam roller. I want to take half moon. But the way I think you might like half moon is going to be using the wall. How am I using the wall? I'm going to use the wall with just my down arm elbow for a little balance. So if I stand and I take my, this is going to be my right side. I've got my block, it's close to the wall. And it's, it's a good 14 or so inches in front of me. When I come down, I'm going to take my right elbow and just rest it on the wall so that the rest of my body is not on the wall. Only my right elbow is on the wall. It's just going to help with your balance. So you might try that. And then I'll talk you through what we're going to do. Okay? So I don't know if it'll show, but basically if I was on the second, if I could show you on this side, it would be my kind of like right about elbow or arm are touching the wall. Okay? So there you are. You've got your right side. Let's go to your right side. So the right leg will be the standing leg. Right elbow at the wall, left hand up on the left hip. So on the standing leg, let's go from the pubic bone to the inner hip, all the way down the right inner thigh into the right heel, foot, leg. Right leg, really reaching. Let's release on the right leg, top of the right pubic bone to the bottom of the right pubic bone. Maybe left arm up. Did you feel when you reached from the top of the right pubic bone to the bottom of the right pubic bone more length? And then we're going to step down, left leg down, wowie zowie. And we're going to take the second side. Any questions before the second side? All right.
Are you bending your support arm to have the elbow on the wall, or are you leaning it, or how?
A little bit of a bend in there.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
How far is the block from the wall?
It's probably about only like, oh my gosh, maybe 2 inches or something. Just a couple inches. And because
Okay.
my standing leg, right, the little toe side of my standing leg is lined up with the outside of that block that's close to the wall. All right, any others? Okay, so I like facing a little forward. I'm going to pick up my back leg to bring my left hand down. And I'm going to take, there's my left kind of elbow. It's really kind of right above my elbow. And I'm going to take right hand up on my hip. First, let's reach from the inner, oh my gosh, this is so intense to reach and really engage on the standing leg. All the way down that inner thigh line, all the way down into the standing foot. Then if you take the top of the left pubic bone and release it toward the bottom of the left pubic bone, does that take the raised leg back a little? Maybe right arm up. Alrighty, and then we'll lower. Wow, let's turn around and walk the feet away from the wall. So they're like probably more than a foot from the wall. I can take my blocks. We're going to take Uttanasana here, a forward fold with the hips against the wall. So top of the pubic bone to the bottom of the pubic bone. Along that lower branch to the sitting bones. And then let's take your hands to the wall right by the hips. Push yourself away. All right, and come all the way to standing. Okay, we're going to come down to the ground. Yes, time to come to the floor, right? And let's take, you might want a blanket. to cushion your body. And we're going to start with a reclined hip opener. So let's take your left heel towards your right sitting bone and grab onto your left foot with your right hand. The left arm can rest out to the side. So the left knee is just coming toward the floor. It's a different degree for each person. There is an arch in the low back. So I'm not going to resist that. Okay, let's take the other side. So the right foot, I grab the right foot with my left hand and I'm bringing the left knee down. Right knee down, left foot's on the floor, right arm out to the side. All right, and then I'm going to come out of there for a moment. Let's bring both knees up and take a reclined, this is Vadakanasana. My feet are not touching. I have the toes could kind of touch, but I'm going to keep them at least an inch apart. A hold of my ankles or shins. I'm going to keep my feet apart. And I could release from the top of the pubic bone to the inner hip joint. Bottom of the pubic bone to the top of the pubic bone. All right, and then we'll bring the knees back toward each other. Let's roll over to one side. Use the arms to push yourself up. And we're going to take Bhadra Chavasana, Bhadra Chavasana 2. So what does that mean? We're going to take, I've got my blanket still. I'm going to keep that on the floor. And I'm going to take a second blanket and fold it into more of a square. And then I'm going to be seated upon the point of that square. It'll be your left hip. So I'll go into mirroring you. So now your left outer, like the left sit bone, left greater trochanter is on the blanket. Your right side, your Virasana leg side, that one is more floating. It's more of a floater right there, okay? All right. So, and then let's just take your right hand to the same leg knee. So usually we go all the way across, but right now we're going to take the Virasana bent leg and put the right hand on that knee and the left hand behind. All right, so on your right side, on the Virasana side. Can you release from the inner edge of the right hip joint all the way towards the right pubic bone? From the top of the right pubic bone to the lower right pubic bone. And you might bring your right hand across to the outer left knee now. But it's not necessary. And then you're going to reach from the lower pubic bone on that right side all the way to the sitting bone. So by now your right sitting bone is really floated and buoyant. And then we're gonna release back to center. Switch the legs for the second side. So your left leg is in the shape of Virasana. You can sit up as high as you need to. Your right outer hip and greater trochanter are up on the blanket. We can start by taking left hand to the top of your left knee and your right hand behind you. And this could be the way the hands are the whole time. But if you place your felt sense at the inner left hip joint, reach along that branch all the way to the top of your left pubic bone, top of the pubic bone to the bottom of the pubic bone, bottom of the pubic bone. Now I sometimes take my hand over to the outside of the other leg and begin to reach all the way towards that sitting bone. And then release back to center. And then we're going to take a seated Vadakanasana. So if you have a a bolster, you could sit upon that. If you don't have a bolster, let's grab at least 2 or 3 blankets. So if you have a bolster, sit on your bolster. If you don't have a bolster and you have a few blankets, make a little tower, because the higher you can get the hips right now, it'll just feel probably a little better. I don't have to plant my feet together. I can just have the little toe side of my feet maybe touching, but I'm not worried about bringing the ball of my foot together. I do have my hands on my just my shins. And if seated on the bolster, if my knees are still higher than these 2 hip points, I'll even put a blanket on the bolster or 2. So we're just going to be seated tall. And I'd like to just investigate for a moment, just this whole, the 2 sides, what it's like from top of the pubic bone to the bottom of the pubic bone. And from the bottom of the pubic bone over towards the sitting bones. Just kind of check those 2 sides out. Just the length. All right. Then we're going to take hands under the knees. Lift the knees back to center. Let's take both legs towards straight. Give myself a little legs a bit of a massage. Give the knees, the thighs, the knees, the calf, the upper shins. Okay. Great. All right. So can we take a comfortable seat and do a little pranayama? So whatever is a comfortable seat for you, and we're going to do a little pranayama, and then we'll do Shavasana. We'll do a seated pranayama, followed by Shavasana. So it's good if you can get an idea, what's your Shavasana going to look like, so that you don't have to rethink that when you come down. So make that, you're like, well, I think I'm going to put a sweater back on. That I know. And I know I need a little pillow or something under my head. So I just have, I just want to know, what is Shavasana going to look like? Are there things I can set up now so that I'm ready for my Shavasana? And then, no rush. When you're ready, you can bring yourself to a comfortable seat. Resting your hands. And let's drop back into your Ujjayi breathing. And for the next few breaths, can you find the 1-to-1 ratio of the inhale to the exhale? And then we're going to take this into box breathing. So I'll often shorten my breath. I won't make the inhale or exhale quite as long, because what you're going to do is say you're going to make all the sides of the box even. So you might inhale for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 4, hold the exhale out for a count of 4, and keep going. Or whatever it's 1 to 1 to 1 to 1. Suspending the inhale and suspending the exhale. After your next exhale, you can transition yourself to Shavasana. If you suddenly and unexpectedly feel joy, don't hesitate. Give into it. There are plenty of lives and whole towns destroyed or about to be. We're not wise and not very often kind. And much can never be redeemed. But still, life has some possibility. Perhaps this is its way of fighting back, that sometimes something happened better than all the riches or power in the world. It could be anything. But very likely you notice it in the instant when love begins. Anyway, that's often the case. Anyway, whatever it is, don't be afraid of its plenty. Joy is not made to be a crumb. So allowing your breath to deepen. And making a mindful transition to one side. Using the arms to come back up to sitting. Bringing your hands in front of your heart. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. I noticed when I read the part about it usually begins when you notice love. That really hit me the second time I read it, because it was that moment of like, the cat rubbing against the leg, or those little moments that sometimes I always think of them as being something larger, like that joy is something, it has to be so much more obvious. And I'm like, my gosh, I must watch this. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. You're welcome to ask any